Yes, here we go. Episode 14 coming right up. I am the Hack Hunter. Thank you so much for tuning in while I scour the country exposing some of the worst tattoo artists that you can imagine. Stick around, guys, and please feel free to help me hunt down some of these scratchers, too. Hit me up at TheHackHunters@gmail.com if you've had an artist that scarred you for life. As for the rest of you, sit back, relax, let's expose some hacks. Alright guys, here we go. My lead today comes from a fan of the show, but he's too young to actually get tattooed yet. His name is Max. Max wrote in, "Hey Hack Hunter, I'm not old enough to get a tattoo yet, but I love watching the show and want to see if you'll do an episode on some of the artists from my city in Lansing, Michigan. I want to know which artists I should go to after I graduate, and I'm old enough to get one, because I've heard that there are some pretty sus artists around here. My sister thinks she's got the best tattoo artist, but I think her tattoos are ugly, and I wouldn't trust him with mine. Please help." Alright, Max. Well, thanks for watching the show, man, and I'm definitely down to help. I actually reached out to Max, you guys, to see if I could figure out what artist his sister went to, and it turns out Max is quite the Axe Hunter himself, because not only was he able to find this guy, but it looks like he was actually right on the money with his assessment of the artwork. Oh my goodness. Let's break it down. Alright guys, let's kick it off. Here he is, Kevin Platt. This is the gentleman that Max found for us. And before I even get into him, check this out. Old school picture, only picture I could find of the guy, but he was using pneumatics, meaning air-powered tattoo machines. This was all the rave, at least, 10 plus years ago. Everybody had air compressors and running little tubes all throughout their ceiling just so that they could run these special little machines. They were very expensive, top-of-the-line thing at the time. I have no idea if that's what he's still running, though. I highly doubt it. You can tell by the TV in the background. This was a bit of an old-school photo, but it's the only one I could find of him. Anyway, he owns and operates The Tattoo Shop. Little on the nose with that one, but you can check it out at Facebook. They didn't have a website that I could find. Facebook.com, the-tattoo-shop. And then he also didn't have an Instagram I could find, but he also has a Facebook. You can check it out at Facebook, The Tattoo Shop LLC. So, yeah, I don't know if he has a personal Facebook. This is the only one I could find, and definitely showed a lot of his artwork. And right off the bat, let's start off with some Super Mario power. Oh, look at this. Just a little goofy. To be honest, guys, I look so forward to doing little cartoon characters and stuff like this because they're just cut and paste. It's very simple, and you can use a lot of little color theory tricks, get really dynamic with it, but it looks like he just took the cheap route. A lot of line errors in here. You can see this line is a lot lighter than this line here. That's just a depth issue. He's not going as deep in all the places, or maybe his hand is just kind of shaking as he's going. The coloring in the pants, you might think that he intentionally used dark and light blue, but the reality is neither of his colors held really well. So the red, the blue, it just came out patchy like this. Part of the reason is because he did what I constantly am complaining about. He tried to color over top a gray wash. This is something that artists do. They think it's going to create a nice shadow effect there. That's not how you create shadows in tattoos, though. Not unless you're really advanced and can really prevent damaging the skin. A lot of little line errors here, though. I'm seeing a lot of line errors, and it's all a depth issue, like I said before. Oh, Luigi looks even worse. He's a little jacked up looking. That is not the Luigi that we know and love. Oh, goodness, look at that face. Weird line details. Again, look at this, just missing lines in the knuckles there. Missing line where his lip connects to the mustache. I'm not really sure why he does this. The stars just have gaps in the points here where he intentionally didn't connect them, but I could not for the life of me tell you why he chooses to do this. It just makes it look a little more half-assed, a little more lazy to me, and I'm not sure. Sometimes artists do that on purpose to kind of differentiate foreground from background or something like this, to kind of clarify their image, but in this case it just kind of looks like laziness. I'm not really sure what the benefit is. Oh, life is a beautiful gift. Oh, unfortunately, this tattoo is not. Oh, my goodness. Kyle, this is rough, my friend. And I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but there's hair right there. This is a tattoo that was just done. You can tell the skin's all beat up right here. But look at that. There's hair right there. That's a big no-no in the tattoo world. You gotta clean shave the whole area. You want to shave all around the tattoo, a large area. There shouldn't be any hairs anywhere near it. Bacteria thrives in hair follicles, and when those hairs are trying to grow back at the same time that the top layer of skin is trying to heal, it's just gonna cause a nightmare of problems. Ingrown hairs, just pustules, all sorts of things you don't want. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see that's very obviously hair in the middle there. But again, with the color work, really patchy, really dodgy looking stuff. I can tell he just rushes. There's no pace to it where he's just kind of smoothly applying it at an even pace. He's just kind of got to be whipping it in there because you get these patches of light and these patches of dark, and it just really doesn't make sense. Again, trying to shade over or color over top of his shading, and it just comes out all muddy like this. Not good at all. This is the kind of work I saw from him the most. These sort of old school skulls, and that's just the best way I can put it. It's an old school type of artwork, neo-traditional, I guess you would call it, but it's got that kind of biker flair to it in a way, but really sort of silly artwork. A lot of it's Flash-derived stuff, and I'm not really sure why he would choose to just put dashes of color in here and say it's like if you're going to color it, color the whole thing. But, you know, he colored the candle, he colored the eyes, but then the skull is gray wash, and that's going to stand out and look funny in the future. It's going to look like you started to color something and you never finished it. So I think, again, it's kind of a lazy approach. And again with the hair, right next to the image. And look at these lines. Just rough. I can tell he doubled, tried to triple over it to try to smooth out his lines, but it just made it worse 3 times over. And then, again, with the weird choice in lining and just skipping lines here, it does not come out looking smooth like I think he's picturing it. And this is typical of somebody who hasn't been an artist for a long time, or maybe they were never trained in art, you know, to just not create a smooth, concise outline to make it a clear image. Oh, some Star Wars action. Oh, man. I hate to see such cool concepts get butchered like this. This is just not something that lends well to his style, unfortunately. But he did some smooth lines in here. Some of these are, at least they're all connected in this one. But ultimately, I think he just did a simple outline of every little piece of detail he could find, skipped anything that was a difficult detail, and just kind of overly simplified it. But this is huge. Look how big this is on this guy's arm. There could have been way, way better detail in there, a way more clear background, but it looks like he just kind of put some random shading in there to look like something's behind him. But yeah, I'm having a hard time appreciating this style of artwork because to me it feels like just rushed, quick, get them in, get them out, make that money kind of tattooing. And it's passable to clients that wouldn't know any better, you know, clients that don't know what they're missing out on. But yeah, another one. Oh, goodness. I hate to see such amazing content get created so cheaply as a tattoo. Oh, man. Just, again, blending gray wash with his colors. Instead of doing multiple tones of pink in here, he just took one tone of pink and then decided to gray wash some of it to maybe make it look like there's, you know, dark pink to light pink fade. But it just comes out kind of scratchy in different areas where it just looks kind of little dark blotches here, light blotches there. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't look like he's planning these pieces ahead of time. It looks like it's kind of an afterthought to him, you know, do the outline and then whip in some color in a few random places. And this could look so much better. Let me show you. This is one I found by an artist named Kobe Chronic. You can check him out at chronictattoo.com. Check out this amazing detail. Not a single line in this thing. And he still got way more detail than Kyle did. This is just what you would hope to see out of such amazing content like that, man. Boba Fett can just look epic, and Kobe did an amazing job here. I would love to be wearing that thing. Little palette cleanser for you guys. But back to Kyle's artwork, man. Oh my goodness. It does not get better. Weird sort of spacescape quasar thing blended into the roses. Used too many lines in here for a spacescape. Makes it look really cartoonish, kiddish. Again, blending gray wash with the colors. Again, the simple looking skull. This was just his MO throughout his whole portfolio. I just saw a lot of this stuff. Here's a whole sleeve of it. Oh, and it's on a female. This is just not an art style that lends well to feminine tattoos. And his gray wash, you notice he used the same medium tone throughout. There's not a lot of dark. I mean, he put a little bit of darker in the eyes here, but that's it. The rest, he just kind of used the same tone, and that's going to look really washed out and just kind of flat, two-dimensional when it heals. Or maybe it is already healed. Yeah, this might already be healed, and this is what you're going to get. Yep, it's just going to stay like that forever. The gray wash is not smoothly blended here, and it's the same tone throughout the whole thing. Very, very quick, cheap work. Here's one that I found that was a healed piece also, and I wanted to show the line work. This is the outcome. This is what happens when an artist does not have a good grip on how to maintain their depth. You got to glide across that skin smoothly without moving the depth of your needle. It's got to puncture to the same depth every single time. That's very difficult. It takes more time. A lot of times you got to go really slow to do that. But if you don't, this is what you get. You get weird dots in your lines. Some lines are dark, some lines are light. And it's very, very inconsistent, and it showed throughout his entire portfolio that that's something that he's struggling with. Oh my goodness, what do we have here? Oh no. Oh, this poor person. I see he tried to do some white highlighting, strangely. This bloody part here is the white. You can tell he did it last, so it's still bleeding when he took the photo. I don't know why he didn't wait a few minutes to take it, but this is something that it's a big tell. For all you guys who are looking for artists and you're trying to judge their artwork, you don't know if they're good or bad. If you see blood in the photo, more often than not, that's a lazy artist. That's somebody who's not even going to take the time to portray their artwork in the best light. They're not going to take the time to learn photography. They're going to get these nasty glares in there because they just don't know how to take photos of their work. And that's a big tell, I think. I think it shows that, they don't have the discipline to learn how to do it right, or to take their time and take a proper photo, or to edit it in a way that's flattering to it. And it just, yeah, I think that shows right off the bat what kind of artist that you're going to be dealing with. So very easy tell if you're not sure. Here's a custom piece by him right below that skull that we talked about earlier. Weird Swiss cheese wiffle ball looking moon. And again, that medium tone of gray throughout the whole thing. It is super lazy to do it this way. At the very least, every time that you start a gray wash piece, you should have 3 or 4 cups. You should have black, dark gray, medium gray, light gray, and most artists would also say 5 cups, 1 for white as well. And I'm in that school of thought too. I think if you have pure black in something, you should always have pure white in something too. But at the very least, you should have 3 tones of gray, not just 1 tone of gray where you kind of overwork it in areas to make it look a little darker. You actually need to use a darker tone and a lighter tone. Otherwise, yeah, it's always going to heal scratchy like this, and it's always going to look really flat and two-dimensional when it's healed. Here's another Swiss cheese wiffle ball looking moon I found. He really likes to do those weird moons with the holes in them. I don't know, that is very strange. Again, just his MO. Simple line work, cheap line work, simple gray scratchiness, cheap gray scratchiness. It is weird he chose to do this style of waves. This is what we call finger waves. They're usually reserved for like Japanese traditional artwork, but he used it in, an American... Well, I guess this would probably be considered a neo-traditional piece, but yeah, they just kind of stand out as not the same style of artwork as the rest of the piece. Little rocket ship here, and it just kind of made me angry when I zoomed in on these stars. Oh my gosh, look at this. What are these lines? How easy is it to do these tiny little starbursts? And he just botched them. Ah, come on. Take your time, Kyle. Go a little bit slower. I thought this was a cool piece at first glance, but man, once I started getting into it, same kind of things. Just gaps and lines in weird places. Single color tones. No blending or anything to make it look nice. He just blends it off this gray wash, and it turns out really muddy like this. Really kind of disappointing. What could have been an amazing piece. It could use a much better background. He just kind of chose these simple little cloud fluffs down here at the bottom. The circle is definitely not a circle. Little wonky there. I think that ship has crashed one too many times. I wanted to give him some credit. I wanted to show some of his more recent artwork, because some of the stuff I've showed is from a ways back, because, that's just all the stuff that he's got on his Facebook. But this is the most recent piece. It's from this week, and all the same errors that I've seen throughout. Just simple gray wash, single tone of gray wash throughout. At least he used some black in the eyes here, but cheap, simple little skulls that he probably just whipped up 2 seconds before he tattooed it. Just kind of disappointing to see that an artist has not evolved at all over the course of a decade. And this is the kind of thing that I look for to warn people about. Because, Kyle, you just haven't evolved in a long time. You're still doing that really old school, kind of biker-esque, kind of cheap flash art. And I think you need to work together with some other artists, research some other artists, find some new techniques, use more line weights, and definitely use more colors in your palette. If you're doing a rose, don't just scratch in some black and then blend it into some red, like multiple tones of red to make it look like a round 3D looking rose. And that goes for anything. If you just use one color or one tone of gray wash, it's going to look flat. It's always going to look two-dimensional and flat. And yeah, I think it would make a lot of sense for you to do a lot of research on different styles of art and kind of help yourself evolve. That being said, alright guys, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think of his artwork, and stick around. I found a really cool artist that I want to introduce Max to. Alright, Max. Here's a gentleman I found for you. But to be honest, first things first, I don't know what style of art you wanted. And that's the best advice I can give anybody when you're looking to get a tattoo. Figure out what style of art you like, figure out what it's called, and figure out an artist that does that style well. Now, that being said, I didn't know what style you like, but I did find an epic artist that I really wanted to showcase for everybody out there in Lansing, Michigan. His name is John Leathers. Here he is. Let's check him out. He's working at Splash of Color Tattoo. You can check him out at splashttattoos.com. Great studio, a lot of great artists there. Worth the look. Also on Instagram, you can see him. Instagram, John Leathers, JONLEATHERS. Really amazing Instagram. It goes a long ways back, and you really want to see the style of art he does. It's very consistent. He's absolutely perfected it, and it's this unique style of black and gray realism. And right off the bat, this is a great sort of representation of it because it has this sort of etchy look to it, like this high detail look to it, but it's really unique. Now, I know a lot of people might think, you see a lot of this sort of black and gray realism, but he does it in a very unique way. There's just all this sort of grit and texture that he includes. And sometimes artists, don't have a good grip on how to do gray wash, and they create this sort of unintentional sort of grit or scratchiness to their gray work, where his is very, very intentional. And you're going to see it as I go throughout some of these pieces. Here's another one with a lion, and you can see what I mean. It's just very intentionally gritty like this, where he's created this nice, tight detail in these small areas. And I love digging through his portfolio because it's not a style of black and gray you see a lot of. This hair down here is a great example of this. I don't know if he used a liner on this or maybe the edge of his shader, but it just turns out very different than you see a lot of artists' black and gray realism stuff turn out. And to me, is very, very impressive. Here's a tiger, beautifully done again. You see that grittiness in there. You also see the small white detail. That's definitely some attention to detail, and he's taken his time to really put all that in there. Look at how tight all of this little black hair is. That's very time-consuming stuff, and that's what I look for in artists, when you can tell that they put some time and effort into a piece. They didn't take the cheap, quick route. And a lot of Kyle's stuff, you saw the exact opposite. You saw that cheap, quick route. But with this stuff, you can tell he went in there with a really small needle set and makes each one of these little textures of hair painstakingly. But in the end, absolutely worth it, absolutely beautiful. Here's one that showcases that he does know how to do really smooth gray wash as well. Look at how smooth of a transition that light gray wash is. A lot of artists struggle with that. A lot of artists, you'll see a lot of beat up red skin around their light gray because they're just overworking the skin with a light gray and it's just not working for them. But he has figured it out how he's getting it in there really smooth without butchering the skin at all. That's definitely what you want. I love the time that he took to detail these leaves too. That's something that I look for often with a lot of artists. You just see really, like, leaves are an afterthought sometimes, you know? They put all their attention into the flower, the rose, and then the leaf is just this simple little, you know, triangle thing with one simple shade on it. And I always love to see when artists put their all into them. And I also love, I just had to showcase this awesome comment here from Zombies Ate My Shoe. He says, I can't quite put my finger on it, but you nailed it. You give the best hand jobs. And John, I gotta agree, that is one incredible hand job, my friend. Jack Skellington, wow, love it. Just beautiful. Again, with this really nice smooth background. That gray shading in the backdrop is just perfect. He's got that white face, so you need a backdrop here. Either that or you're going to have to put an outline, and it would have took away from the piece to make an outline, so he did this soft gray in the backdrop. I love it. He couldn't do too dark of a black because it would have blended into his suit, so he had to do a soft gray backdrop here. And, yeah, he did it very, very well. Very clean. Zeus! Love it. Wow, again, this is a perfect piece for him, getting all that texture in the beard here. Wow, I'm very curious to find out how long these kind of pieces take him, because I know something like this would take me forever to get that kind of a tight detail in the beard. And you can tell that he layered many tones of gray in there. You can, even in a small spot, you can see the black, the medium tone of gray, and then the light gray there, all in this tiny, tiny little spot. And he did it over and over again in multiple locations, and it really gives an amazing 3D effect. And we're comparing it to the other artists we just talked about. I complained a lot about that, how he just used the same tone of gray throughout. And you're not going to end up with something like this where you have a nice 3D foreground background look to it. You're just going to look at something, you're going to end up with something that looks really flat and two-dimensional. Oh, unbelievable detail in this mouth here. Wow, look at that. It's like the closer I get, the more high def it gets. That's that's incredible. Just amazing artwork. And a lot of this stuff, most of this stuff is custom design stuff on his part. I saw a lot of custom pieces from him. So especially if you're looking for some large sleeve work, custom work, and you like this sort of style of contrasted dark realism, yeah, John Leathers is just a brilliant artist for that. This, I cannot remember her damn name, but unbelievably smooth shading again in this. He did a great job on the hair here. I love that you can tell where those braids interweave. That's a nice attention to detail. I love this light edge that he did on the edge of the braid here too, to differentiate it from the background there, so the hair doesn't get lost in the backdrop. He's got a really good control over his gray tones. Really, really impressive control over it. It's another Greek style, a piece with a statue. Here's one where he used a lot of lines similar to Kyle's artwork, but well, no, sorry, not similar. Similar because he used a lot of lines, but it did not turn out anything like Kyle's artwork. So this is how you want to do it if you're using a lot of lines without it coming across too cheap or cartoony or quick. Yeah, he did a great job here with this black line work. It really creates the definition in this piece really, really well. And this is what it looks like when you intentionally leave those gaps, and this is the right way to do it, where you intentionally leave those line gaps. And he did it nice, where each line fades off into nothing nicely. It doesn't just stop and then there's a gap and then it starts again. It fades from dark to light to really make it look like a faded out crease there on the clothing. Oh, another piece that's just brilliant for his style of artwork. That really tight texture in the eyes here. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Great use of negative skin tone here, the skin breaks that he used. Instead of using a really light gray or a white or anything, he just chose to use the skin breaks, and then he counterbalanced it by using this dark black backdrop. And that's just a perfect choice for this style of realism. Well, I think it's pretty obvious how I feel about him. John Leathers, you are killing it, man. You got your own unique style of artwork. You've been doing it a long time. It just keeps getting better and better and better. Anybody out in Lansing, Michigan, please go check this guy out. And obviously, you are Hack Hunter approved. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Really impressive stuff. All right. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching the show. Make sure you subscribe because we put out new episodes every week. Also, hit the bell button so you get notified every time we post a new episode. So when we come to your city, you'll be sure to catch it. Thanks again. I'll see you all next week.